We had a meeting at the law school, a lunchtime meeting, I think about 4 weeks ago now, in which we were just introduced to the concept of Zoom, something with which I think very, very few people on the faculty even knew existed. That was also true at the University of Colorado in general, because I blogged about it, and then I had people from other departments contacting me saying, "What is this Zoom thing?" You know, and then literally 3 days later, the entire university had moved its teaching, this 30,000 student major research university, to a platform in which 99% of the faculty had literally never used it before. And, it's an emergency situation, right? But at the same time, it was a, shall we say, awkward transition.
Of course. And from the student perspective, if someone's going to start law school in the fall and they're being asked to shell out full price tuition for an 1L education with professors who may not be familiar and maybe somewhat awkward in the Zoom setting, what's a student to do? How are they supposed to navigate going to law school, yes or no? But more specifically, I did another poll in the community. Most students said they would still go to 1L this fall, even if it were online.
Oh,
so let's first say, surprising. Yeah, I was surprised myself. But so given they're going to go in the fall, if it may be online, how should they be deciding which schools to go to? How do they evaluate that decision, given, again, all the uncertainty?
Well, I think, since my sense of this, although I certainly haven't done any scientific study of it, but my sort of generalized sense of it is that pretty much all law schools are similarly sort of disadvantaged in regard to using distance technology for the most part. If law schools are using distance technology, then I don't think that in and of itself is going to have much, if any, meaningful distinction basis for students to make decisions, right? Since if everybody's more or less in the same boat, then students will have to make the decisions that they would have made previously, with the caveat, of course, that they have to ask themselves the question: are they willing to pay as much for distance learning as they would for in-person learning, which, as your poll indicated, a lot of prospective students are obviously very resistant to that. So the good news, such as it is that law faculty, needless to say, are vastly more familiar with distance learning now than they were 3 weeks ago. And there's a very steep learning curve here. I myself have experienced how the first, half hour of teaching a distance learning class for the first time was, kind of disastrous, because, it wasn't just the faculty, it's also most of the students who had never used it before either. But, after a couple hours, everybody's kind of getting the hang of it. And depending upon the kind of class you're doing, it can work fairly well, which, has some, pretty striking long-term consequences for legal education, right? If you have a $65 million physical plant that ends up being not really necessary for maybe 80 or 90% of what you do, well, that has, a lot of implications for the future.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.